When you think of body fat percentage, what is your goal? Do you have a goal? 15%? 10% body fat? In this video, I will cover why I believe 15% body fat is most ideal for a man who wants to work out, look fit, and still maintain quality of life. For women, all this same advice applies. However, the equivalent is 22%. In my opinion, falling much below 15% body fat is overrated and not necessary. I understand that most people walk around at a higher body fat percentage than this. However, I believe this is a realistic goal to work towards and is maintainable. Whether you're starting out at 35%, 27%, or 40% body fat, we can get you down to around 15% and your health will be in a good spot. Going much lower than this can come with health issues for some, which is one reason I want to discuss body fat in general in this video, to set realistic expectations for those who are into working out. If you maintain around 15% body fat, you can still maintain performance in the gym, have energy for work, and your physique will look great. You should be able to move freely and without pain. It should be where you see abs, but every vein is probably not sticking out all the time. That can really just take a super strict diet that's not sustainable for most, even celebrities you see in movies. They dehydrate and remove water right before shooting. This creates an unrealistic look that sticks in your mind. When you're at 15% body fat, you will have an impressive physique, whether you have a shirt on or off. You will be able to maintain muscle mass and feel good. You might still have a little stubborn belly fat when sitting, but honestly, that's normal and natural. We all need a little fat to exist, keep hormones in a healthy range, and to not have other health issues. We often see people on the front of magazines or competing in competitive bodybuilding with veins sticking out everywhere, including their lower stomach. This is a show done live in the moment or a magazine that's memorialized in our mind. It's not normal or obtainable to maintain that low body fat all the time. I will show you what you need to do to be able to maintain and get down to 15% body fat if you're currently above that. If you have specific goals or want to lean down to 10 to 12%, you can do that. Or if you feel better at 17%, stop there and that's fine. I just want to get you accurate information to be around 15%, which is where I personally felt best. I've also seen those that I worked with in gyms, whether they were colleagues or those I trained, feel and look best here. To add to this, the US Department of Health shows that the normal guy walks around with a body fat percentage of about 27% in the US. To be honest, I think this might be a low estimate. Obviously, some will be higher and some lower. Some other countries or parts of the world may have lower body fat percentage overall, but most are still going to be well above this 15% range on average. If you meet a random person on the street, anywhere in the world, if you're currently at 27% body fat or higher, getting to 15% is realistic. Shooting for 10 right away might seem a little bit unobtainable. Just see how your physique feels at 15% and see if you feel better, a little lower or a little higher, but kind of in that range. For context, NBA basketball players on average in season walk around at 12 to 13%. So even these players who we idolize or look up to as kids are not walking around at 10% on average. Some basketball players, you might see LeBron James maybe on the lower end and you can see veins sticking out, but this is not the same for everyone, even in the professional ranks. If you're currently between 20 to 30% body fat, work on getting down to 15%. I think you might be surprised by how much better you feel and look. It takes a lot of work to get down to 15%. Most people walk around not anywhere close to this range. People walk around at 30% plus body fat all the time. If you were to ask them, a lot of people would probably guess they're 16 to 20%. They know they'd need to be leaner than this to see more veins, but they think they're leaner than they actually are. It's the same way with how people estimate calories. We usually think we eat less than we do. When I was at my largest, I was about 70 pounds overweight. While I did not take a body fat measurement right away at that point, I was well over 30% body fat. The first 10 pounds, then the next, saw physique changes and I looked smaller, yet did not see a lot of change in definition in my abs, stomach area. The definition and cuts in my shoulders and abs didn't even really appear until over 30 pounds into my weight loss journey. Going from 30 to 20% does have a huge change in muscle definition on your stomach. However, once you get in this range of 15%, this is where you see most of the visible changes. For me, I started losing weight from my face, back love handle area, and legs first. Now to do this, you need to be in a calorie deficit for a while to see progress. It can be really easy to get discouraged when you lose 5 to 10 pounds and don't see anything different. I get it. I've literally gone through it myself. Having been there, keep working on it, and the results will come. Stay patient. If you don't see much yet, probably just a little higher body fat percentage than you had thought. Lose more fat and you'll see results. Now, here are some variables you need to be able to drop the right kind of weight. First, you're going to have to be in a calorie deficit. If you currently maintain your weight at 2,800 calories, try a couple hundred less a day. This can be as simple as having one less side with a meal, a couple less pieces of bread, or even a few crackers, or snack less. I personally recommend starting with a small change like this. Find the maintenance calorie number for you, then cut out up to 20% of your total at most. Second, you need an effective exercise plan. You need to maintain muscle as you lose fat to keep your metabolism high. I would recommend lifting weights 3 to 5 times a week. This resistance training will help you maintain the best body composition as you lose adiposity. Third, you need to eat enough protein to feel decently full. Roughly 1 gram per pound of body weight is what I always recommend. This helps you recover from the hard workouts you're putting in. I would definitely not go lower than 0.7 grams of protein per pound of body weight to maximize results. This is shown in research. If all 3 of these are incorporated in place, results will come. You just need some time and patience to trust the process. Now, here are my top mistakes to be aware of that I've seen throughout the years as well. The first is eating too many calories too early. We were always told when you're a kid to eat a big breakfast to get your day started on a healthy track. Breakfast can be a great idea, and I'm not saying anything's wrong with it. The only thing is if you have a big breakfast with pancakes, eggs, bacon, and everything in between, that could quickly become 50% of your daily caloric needs. This would make it difficult to have nutrition-filled lunch and dinner without going over your calorie goal. One solution is if you aren't hungry early in the morning, eat a little later when it's mid-morning or an early lunch. Delaying your first meal of the day helps with a calorie deficit. Another mistake when trying to hit 15% body fat is that you think you need to avoid all foods you enjoy. Moderation is key. Not every meal has to be chicken breast and broccoli. You can still enjoy your meals and life and drop fat. Getting lean takes time. It's more of a marathon than a sprint. If you need to create your calorie deficit over a number of months, take that time and still enjoy food. I personally love different seasonings and mixing things up with different spices for some variety. Long-term consistency is always going to be better than being intense just for a short season and then going back to old habits. The third issue I see time and time again is people doing too much cardio. If you're in a calorie deficit and lifting weights, you don't need to hammer yourself with hours and hours of cardio. You'll still lose fat. Calorie deficit and resistance training are enough. You can still incorporate cardio a couple days a week, just don't make it the majority of your training. The recommendation of 150 minutes of moderate cardio weekly recommended is perfect for most. This can be small walks after a meal or in the morning or evening that are not overly intense to still get healthy movement in. If you do too much cardio, you could find yourself getting tired, getting more hungry, and wanting to binge eat or fall off due to pure exhaustion. Now, the fourth mistake I see is an over-reliance on fat burners. There truly is no magic pill that will shed fat. I'm not even sure how they can call them this anymore. Now, they can be categorized into 2 categories. One is a stimulant that kind of works as an appetite suppressor, and the other ones are the ones that quote-unquote burn body fat, in other ways that don't really do anything. The stimulant ones make you feel like you're losing body fat. They actually don't cause you to lose fat, but to have an appetite suppressing effect as they have stimulants. Caffeine as a stimulant is an example. People lose weight on them, stimulants in general, because they suppress appetite. Over time, your body adapts and they lose their effect. Think about how if you haven't had coffee for a while versus if you have multiple cups a day. The human body adapts. Your appetite will be suppressed initially, but won't hold on forever. So as people go off them, they typically feel worse, then will rebound and regain the weight, and maybe even more. It's not sustainable, and I would avoid them for the most part. Now, once you reach 15% body fat, you might want to drop down to 10%. There's nothing wrong with that if your goal is to be a physique athlete or just something you want to do. It's good to know that what it takes to lean down further, close to 10%, is different. The things that work from 30% to 15% will not necessarily work as you get down to single digits. The leaner you get, the more your metabolism slows down, even as you get nearer to 10%. You need to drop calories even further as you get leaner. Maybe you start at 2,000 calories, but now you need to get down to 1,700 to drop down to 10% body fat. It's extremely lean and hard to maintain. Personally, when I got to this level, I did not have as much energy, and my workouts took a setback. I had to walk more and miss out on time with my friends and family, and it's all I was doing. It's a balancing act, but it can become too much. Getting shredded, completely shredded at 10% comes with a cost. It can be a fun goal to accomplish, but extremely difficult to maintain and feel healthy. If you stay closer to 15%, I think you and most people will feel better and still enjoy life, look great, and crush workouts. Ultimately, go by how you look and feel. I want you to be aware of not just the difficulty, but more how crummy you can feel if you go much lower than 15% body fat. Go by feel. Whether you're at 16% or 11%, if you can do the things you love, play sports, lift weights, and remain active, this is the ultimate ideal measurement of a good level for you. As always, we try to bring practical fitness advice to everyone and things you can do right away.